Welcome, dear listeners, to a tale that will chill your bones and leave you questioning the boundaries between the realms of the living and the dead. Brace yourselves, for we delve into the haunting legend of the Weeping Woman of Chorrera. Deep within the verdant heart of Colombia, nestled amidst towering peaks and cascading waterfalls, lies a place shrouded in mystery and dread. Chorrera, a remote paradise known for its breathtaking natural beauty, harbors a dark secret that has lingered for generations, whispering tales of terror to those foolish enough to lend an ear. It is said that among the mists that rise from the thundering waters a ghostly figure can be seen, a woman clad in white, her ethereal form forever trapped in a melancholic embrace. Her haunting wails echo through the dense forest, a siren's call that has lured many an unsuspecting soul to their untimely demise. Some say she was a heartbroken lover, driven to madness by betrayal and despair. Others whisper of a darker past, a tragic tale of jealousy and vengeful spirits. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: those who dare to seek her out seldom return. As you listen to the chilling accounts that follow, you may find yourself questioning the boundaries of reality, for in the realm of the supernatural, the line between truth and fiction blurs. Tread carefully, dear listeners, for the weeping woman's haunting lament may just beckon you to join her in the eternal depths of Chorrera's cursed waters. The legend. For centuries, the remote village of Chorrera has been plagued by a sinister legend, one that has cast a veil of dread over its people and the lush, verdant lands that surround them. It is said that deep within the heart of the Colombian wilderness, where the roaring cascade of Chorrera Falls thunders eternally, a ghostly presence lurks, a vengeful spirit forever bound to the misty waters she once called home. They call her Llorona, the weeping woman, for her anguished cries have been known to pierce the veil of night, carried on the cool mountain breezes like a banshee's wail. Clad in a gossamer white gown, her ethereal form has been spotted by unlucky travelers, drifting among the ancient trees or hovering at the edge of the precipice, her eyes hollow pits of sorrow and despair. Some say she was once a beautiful young woman, betrayed by her lover and driven to madness by the depths of her heartbreak. In a fit of unbridled rage, it is whispered that she took the lives of her own children before plunging herself into the unforgiving waters below, her bitter tears mingling with the crashing torrents. Others speak of a darker tale, that of a jealous woman consumed by envy, who mercilessly drowned those she perceived as threats to her twisted desires. Cursed to wander the earth as a restless spirit, her endless mourning is said to be a penance for the innocent lives she stole. Whatever the truth may be, one ominous fact remains: those who encounter the weeping woman seldom live to tell their tale. Her haunting lamentations are said to lure unsuspecting souls to the edge of the precipice, her icy fingers beckoning them ever closer until they plummet into the churning abyss below. The villagers of Chorrera know well to avoid the treacherous falls after nightfall. For to hear the weeping woman's mournful cries is to tempt one's very doom. They whisper warnings to outsiders, their voices hushed and their eyes clouded with dread. Heed the legend, lest you join the ranks of those whose souls are forever trapped within La Chorrera's cursed depths. Arrival. Despite the dire warnings that echoed through the sleepy village of La Chorrera, a group of intrepid souls dared to venture into the heart of the Colombian wilderness, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a thirst for the truth that lay shrouded in mystery. They were seasoned paranormal investigators, a motley crew of skeptics and believers, bound by a shared fascination with the unknown, and a resolute determination to unravel the enigmas that others dared not confront. As their rugged vehicles navigated the winding mountain roads, the thick canopy of ancient trees closed in around them, casting eerie shadows that danced across their path. The air grew thick with tension, each twist and turn revealing a landscape that seemed to defy the laws of nature, twisted branches reaching out like gnarled fingers, and moss-covered rocks that bore the weight of untold centuries. It was as if the very wilderness itself was trying to dissuade them from their quest, whispering silent warnings that only the foolhardy would ignore. Yet, they pressed on, undeterred by the palpable sense of dread that settled upon them like a suffocating shroud. For in the pursuit of the unknown, fear was a constant companion, one that they had learned to embrace and conquer time and again. Finally, they reached their destination, the remote and foreboding La Chorrera Falls. The thunderous roar of the cascading waters seemed to shake the very earth beneath their feet, and a veil of mist clung to their skin like ghostly fingers, leaving them chilled to the bone. As they set up their base camp, the investigators could not help but feel the weight of the legend that had drawn them to this place. The locals had spoken of it in hushed tones, their faces etched with the unmistakable lines of fear. The tale of the weeping woman, a restless spirit bound to the cursed waters, forever mourning the life she had taken. Little did they know that their quest for truth would soon plunge them into a realm of terror beyond their wildest imaginings, where the boundaries between the living and the dead would blur, and the echoes of the weeping woman's anguished cries would forever haunt their waking dreams. Strange occurrences. The investigators wasted no time in commencing their exploration of the Chorrera Falls and its surrounding environs. Armed with an array of specialized equipment and a steely determination, they set out to uncover any shred of evidence that might corroborate the chilling legend of the weeping woman. At first, Their search yielded little more than the breathtaking natural beauty of the region. Waterfalls that seemed to defy gravity, towering rock formations adorned with vibrant emerald moss, and a canopy of ancient trees that filtered the sun's rays into ethereal beams of light. But as the hours wore on and the shadows grew long, an unsettling presence began to make itself known, a palpable force that sent tendrils of dread slithering down their spines. It began with the faintest of whispers, carried on the gentle breeze that rustled through the leaves, a sound akin to a mournful sigh, barely perceptible yet undeniably haunting. The investigators exchanged uneasy glances, their senses heightened as they strained to discern the source of the eerie disturbance. Then, as they ventured deeper into the heart of the wilderness, they encountered a sight that defied all logical explanation. Etched into the damp soil, a trail of footprints emerged, each impression bearing the unmistakable outline of bare feet. Yet there was no sign of a living soul in the vicinity. The prints seemed to materialize from thin air, leading the bewildered team on a twisted path that culminated at the edge of a steep precipice, where the raging waters of La Chorrera churned violently below. As they studied the enigmatic trail, their unease intensified, for among the disturbing footprints, they discovered something even more chilling, droplets of water that glistened like tears, as if shed by some unseen, grief-stricken entity. The investigators knew then that they were no longer dealing with mere folklore or local superstition. Something otherworldly was at play, a force that seemed to beckon them ever closer to the brink of madness, or perhaps to the very precipice of the great beyond itself. The weeping woman appears, as the golden hues of dusk began to bleed across the sky, painting the ancient trees in a kaleidoscope of warm colors. The investigators found themselves drawn inexplicably towards the thundering cataracts of La Chorrera Falls. It was as if an unseen force, a sinister presence, beckoned them ever closer to the roaring heart of the cursed waters. Unsettled by the strange phenomena they had already witnessed, they proceeded with a mixture of trepidation and resolute determination, their equipment at the ready to capture any manifestation of the supernatural that might reveal itself. The air grew thick with tension, the mist from the cascading torrents clinging to their skin like a ghostly shroud. Each footfall seemed to echo through the oppressive silence, a drumbeat of dread that pounded in their ears, drowning out even the thunderous roar of the falls. Then, without warning, a sound pierced the veil of unnatural stillness, a wail of anguish so primal, so haunting, that it seemed to reverberate through the very depths of their souls. The investigators froze, their breath caught in their throats as a figure began to materialize before their very eyes. There, amidst the swirling mists and the dancing shadows cast by the fading light, stood the ethereal form of a woman clad in a gossamer white gown. Her face was a mask of sorrow, etched with lines of grief that defied the passage of time. Tears streamed down her pallid cheeks, glistening like gemstones in the dying rays of the sun. The weeping woman had manifested, her anguished lamentations echoing through the dense forest like the cries of a banshee. Her hollow eyes seemed to bore into the souls of the investigators, beckoning them closer even as her wails sent tendrils of terror slithering down their spines. In that moment, the boundary between the living and the dead blurred, and the investigators found themselves confronted with the harsh reality that the legend they had sought to unravel was no mere myth. The weeping woman was real, and her haunting presence seemed to permeate every fiber of their being, filling their hearts with a dread so profound it threatened to consume them entirely. Pursuit and peril. In the wake of the weeping woman's chilling manifestation, the investigators found themselves inexorably drawn into a realm of terror that defied all rational explanation. Her anguished cries seemed to reverberate through their very beings, luring them deeper into the heart of the haunting like a siren's call that could not be ignored. Stealing their resolve, they gathered their equipment and followed the spectral trail that the weeping woman had left in her wake, a twisted path that wound through the dense undergrowth, leading them ever closer to the thundering cataracts of Chorrera Falls. With each step, the air grew heavier, thick with a palpable sense of dread that seeped into their bones like an insidious poison. Strange whispers seemed to echo all around them, disembodied voices that spoke in tongues long forgotten, their eerie utterances raising the hairs on the back of their necks. The shadows deepened, taking on twisted, malevolent forms that danced at the edges of their vision, taunting them with fleeting glimpses of horrors that lurked just beyond the veil of perception. The investigators pressed on, their nerves freed and their senses heightened to a fever pitch, ever vigilant for any sign of the weeping woman's return. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble, the earth itself quaking with an otherworldly force. Gnarled roots burst forth from the soil, writhing like serpents, and ensnaring their ankles, threatening to drag them down into the depths of some unspeakable abyss. The investigators fought against the relentless onslaught, their hearts pounding in their chests as they hacked and slashed at the living tendrils that sought to ensnare them. Just as they thought they had broken free, a deafening crack rent the air, and a towering oak came crashing down upon them, its massive trunk narrowly missing them by mere inches. In that heart-stopping moment, they knew they were no longer mere observers. They had become unwitting players in a macabre dance with forces beyond their comprehension, forces that seemed hell-bent on their destruction. Yet still, the weeping woman's haunting lamentations echoed through the dense forest, urging them ever onward, deeper into the heart of the nightmare that had ensnared them in its unrelenting grasp. unraveling the mystery. Battered and bruised, yet undeterred in their quest for the truth, the investigators pressed onward, driven by a burning curiosity that outweighed even their most primal instincts for self-preservation. The weeping woman's haunting cries continued to echo through the dense forest, a siren's call that drew them ever deeper into the heart of the nightmare. As they delved further into the shadows, scouring every nook and crevice for any shred of evidence that might shed light on the tragic entity they pursued, a series of disturbing clues began to emerge. Fragments of shattered past that painted a chilling portrait of the weeping woman's origins, etched into the ancient bark of a gnarled oak. They discovered a faded carving, the initials of two lovers, intertwined with a heart that had long since withered and cracked. Nearby, they uncovered a tarnished locket, its delicate engravings worn smooth by the passage of time, but still bearing the faint imprint of a woman's face, a face contorted in an expression of abject sorrow. As they pieced together these macabre relics, a heart-rending tale began to take shape, a tale of love and betrayal, of jealousy and madness that had ultimately culminated in unspeakable tragedy. The weeping woman, it seemed, had once been a beautiful young woman, consumed by a passion so all-consuming that it had twisted her very soul, driven to the brink of despair by her lover's infidelity. She had committed an act of unforgivable violence, taking the lives of the very children she had sworn to protect. Overcome by guilt and remorse, she had then taken her own life, plunging into the unforgiving depths of Chorrera Falls, her anguished cries echoing through the ages, as a testament to the depths of her sorrow and regret. As the investigators unraveled this tragic narrative, a profound sense of empathy began to mingle with their fear, for they had glimpsed the humanity that lay at the core of the weeping woman's torment. She was not merely a vengeful spirit, but a tortured soul, bound to this realm by the weight of her own anguish. Yet even as this revelation dawned upon them, the haunting grew ever more intense, the weeping woman's wail seeming to reverberate through their very bones, as if she sensed that her darkest secrets had been laid bare. The investigators knew then that their pursuit had taken a perilous turn, for to gaze into the abyss of such profound sorrow was to risk being consumed by its all-consuming depths. Confrontation. The investigators stood at the precipice, their hearts pounding in their chests as the full weight of the weeping woman's anguish bore down upon them. Her haunting lamentations seemed to reverberate through the very earth itself, each wail a shard of sorrow that threatened to shatter their resolve. Before them, the ghostly figure materialized once more, her ethereal form wavering in the swirling mists that rose from the churning depths of Chorrera Falls. Her hollow eyes bored into their souls, as if laying bare their deepest fears and regrets, taunting them with the promise of an eternity trapped within the unrelenting grip of her torment. In that moment, a choice lay before them: to retreat, to turn their backs on the nightmare that had ensnared them, or to confront the weeping woman head-on, risking everything in a desperate bid to put her tormented spirit to rest. The decision was not an easy one, for the forces they faced were primal, ancient, and wholly beyond the realm of mortal comprehension. Yet, they were seasoned investigators, hardened by countless encounters with the unknown, and they knew that sometimes the only path forward was through the heart of the abyss itself. Steeling their resolve, they stepped forward, their equipment at the ready to capture any manifestation of the supernatural that might reveal itself. The weeping woman's wails intensified, her anguished cries seeming to pierce their very souls, as if she sensed their determination to challenge her eternal torment. The ground beneath their feet began to tremble, the earth itself quaking with an otherworldly force that threatened to swallow them whole. Gnarled roots burst forth from the soil, writhing like serpents and ensnaring their ankles, drawing them inexorably towards the precipice's edge. In a desperate bid for survival, the investigators fought back, their equipment capturing footage that defied all rational explanation. Shadowy figures dancing at the edges of their vision, disembodied voices whispering in tongues long forgotten, and the weeping woman herself, her spectral form wavering between dimensions, as if caught in the liminal space between life and death. As the battle raged on, the investigators found themselves teetering on the brink of oblivion, their mortal existence hanging by a thread that threatened to unravel at any moment. It was then that they realized the true nature of their quest. To confront the weeping woman was not merely to seek the truth, but to stare into the abyss of human suffering and emerge victorious, their spirits intact and their resolve unbroken. The confrontation reached its fever pitch, the investigators summoning every ounce of courage and determination they possessed to face the weeping woman's onslaught. The outcome of their battle would not only determine their fate, but also the fate of the tormented spirit they sought to lay to rest. In that heart-pounding moment, the line between the living and the dead blurred, and the investigators found themselves thrust into a realm where only the strongest of wills could prevail. Aftermath. In the aftermath of their harrowing confrontation with the weeping woman, the investigators found themselves standing amidst the eerie stillness of the forest, their bodies battered and their spirits shaken to the core. The air hung heavy, pregnant with an oppressive silence that seemed to press down upon them like a suffocating shroud. As they gathered their wits and took stock of their surroundings, a chilling realization began to dawn upon them. The weeping woman's haunting cries had fallen silent, her tormented wails no longer echoing through the ancient trees. Had they succeeded in laying her restless spirit to rest, or had some darker force intervened, consigning them all to a fate far worse than they could have ever imagined? The investigators searched for answers, scouring every inch of the area for any sign, any clue that might shed light on the resolution of their harrowing ordeal. Yet, the forest remained stubbornly silent, its secrets guarded by the impenetrable veil of the unknown. It was then that they stumbled upon a sight that sent tendrils of dread slithering down their spine, a trail of bare footprints, leading away from the precipice and into the depths of the wilderness. The prints were unmistakable, bearing the same haunting imprint as those they had followed during their pursuit of the weeping woman. As they traced the eerie path, their apprehension mounting with every step, they found themselves drawn towards a secluded glade, where the ancient trees seemed to part like a curtain, revealing a scene that chilled their blood. There, amidst the dappled sunlight that filtered through the canopy, lay a gossamer white dress, its delicate fabric stained with what appeared to be droplets of water, or perhaps something far more sinister. The investigators exchanged uneasy glances, their minds racing with the implications of this haunting discovery. Had the weeping woman's tormented soul finally found peace, shedding her earthly form and transcending the boundaries of this mortal realm? Or had she merely shed her physical guise, her restless spirit now free to roam the earth unbound, forever mourning the lives she had taken? As they gathered the tattered garment, their fingers tracing the intricate embroidery that adorned its delicate folds, they could not help but feel a profound sense of unease settling upon them. For in their pursuit of the truth, they had ventured into a realm where the boundaries between the living and the dead had blurred, and the echoes of the weeping woman's anguish still lingered, a haunting reminder that some mysteries are best left undisturbed. With heavy hearts and minds weighed down by the enigmas they had unearthed, the investigators turned their backs on the cursed depths of the Chorrera Falls, knowing that the echoes of the weeping woman's haunting lament would forever haunt their waking dreams. And so, dear listeners, we reach the end of our chilling tale, a story that has taken us on a perilous journey through the realms of the living and the dead, where the boundaries between truth and fiction have blurred, and the echoes of anguished cries still linger. As the investigators departed the Chorrera Falls, their minds weighed down by the haunting enigmas they had unearthed, one thing became abundantly clear: the legend of the weeping woman was no mere myth, but a haunting reality that had ensnared them in its unrelenting grasp. Whether her tormented spirit found eternal peace or simply transcended to another plane of existence, we may never know. But one thing is certain: the investigators' lives would never be the same, forever tainted by the indelible mark of their chilling encounter with the supernatural. So, as you venture forth into the night, remember the haunting tale of the weeping woman, and heed the whispers of warning that echo through the ancient forests of La Chorrera. For in the realm of the unknown, some mysteries are best left undisturbed, lest you find yourself ensnared in a waking nightmare from which there is no escape. The veil between our world and the great beyond is a fragile one, and those who dare to peer beyond its gossamer folds risk losing themselves forever in the abyss of the unknowable. Tread carefully, dear listeners, and may the haunting lamentations of the weeping woman never grace your waking dreams. Until next time, may the embrace of slumber bring you peaceful repose, untroubled by the restless spirits that lurk in the shadowed corners of the night. Sweet dreams.